Hello 3D printing and electronics friends. Today on the BB 3D channel we're going to see how to use an infrared remote control and an infrared receiver with an Uno R3 board. Stick around and we'll get into it right after this. I'm Brian and you are watching BB 3D. Hi, welcome back. Hey, if you're new here and you're wanting to learn about cool 3D printer upgrades, 3D modeling, and other 3D printing and occasionally electronics related stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Okay, so we're back with the 10th episode in the Getting Started in Electronics series, and today we're going to learn how to use an infrared remote control along with an infrared receiver to control an Arduino Uno R3 microcontroller board. Well, actually the board that I'm using is made by Elegoo, and it, along with all the parts that I'm using in today's video, are included in the Elegoo Super Starter Kit for Uno. In fact, this is the kit that I've been using for all the Getting Started in Electronics videos. It includes the Uno R3 board, a breadboard for building the circuits, and a huge assortment of electronic components, sensors, modules, and connecting wires. There's a link in the description if you'd like to get one. Now, you may be wondering how this Arduino stuff ties in with 3D printing. Well, the thing that links the two together is the long history of the Arduino Mega board as the brains in 3D printers. In addition to the electronics aspects, the skills learned by writing code for the Arduino Uno can help you understand the Marlin firmware that controls so many 3D printers. So that's the tie-in. The Arduino Uno in this kit is just the slightly smaller version of the brain in probably millions of 3D printers. And if you have a 3D printer or you know someone who does, you can download and print this project organizer that I designed. It's free to download and there's a link for this in the description too. It's got a place for the Uno and the breadboard and a little tray in the front to help keep the components for your projects all in one spot. And it's super handy for when you want to pick up your project and move it somewhere else. So in this episode, we're learning how to use an infrared receiver module with an infrared transmitter. Now, this is the same technology that's used in TV remotes, and it's been around for decades. With a receiver inside a device, you just point the remote control at it and press a button to make something happen. So how does this actually work? Well, when you press a button on the remote control, the circuitry inside the remote sends a series of pulses from an infrared LED, usually mounted on the front of the remote control. This LED blinks out a code that's unique for whichever button you pressed. The receiver module is sensitive to the infrared light from the remote's LED, so when it sees these pulses, it generates a matching signal on its output. Then, in the device you're controlling, a combination of circuitry and code running within it decodes that signal and does the thing that you want it to do. So, for example, when you press the volume up button on your TV's remote, the remote sends a unique series of pulses which correspond to that button. The infrared receiver in the TV itself receives those pulses, the pulses are decoded, the TV identifies that code as the volume up button and it raises the volume. Now, like most of these projects, this one is pretty easy to wire up. Now for this project, we're going to need the Uno board, and we're going to need the breadboard, and we're going to need the infrared receiver, and we're going to need the infrared transmitter, and of course a few wires from the kit as well. For the wires, I'm using a short red and short black jumper wire and a longer yellow jumper wire for the signal. We'll start by plugging the yellow jumper wire into pin 11 on the Uno and then into an available row on the breadboard. Then we'll plug the red jumper wire into the 5-volt pin on the Uno and the other end of it just to the left of the yellow jumper wire. Then plug the black jumper wire into a ground pin on the Uno and the other end of it just to the left of the red jumper wire. You should end up with the 3 jumper wires like this: black, red, and yellow. The G, R, and Y pins should plug into the rows with the black, red, and yellow jumper wires respectively. And that's it, the wiring is complete. Now it's time to get into the code, and for the code, I'm going to take the unusual step of actually using the code that Elegoo supplied for this project. Now, a lot of times I walk through actually writing the code, but the code for this one is a little more involved. There are 21 buttons on this thing, and if we had to type in the code to handle all of them, there's always the remote possibility of something going wrong. Hashtag dad joke. As a reminder, this is episode 10 in the series, so if you're just jumping in here, When we write code, we're doing it in the Arduino Integrated Development Environment, or IDE. If you don't have the Arduino IDE, pause the video here and then download and install it. It's free, and there's a link in the description. Speaking of downloads, Elegoo occasionally updates the downloadable materials for this kit, and as of this video, the most recent update was August 27th, 2020. This particular update rearranges the folder structure a little bit and revises the layout of the PDF lesson guides. The majority of the content is the same, but it looks a little nicer. I recommend you pause the video here and go download the current version of the Super Starter Kit for Uno materials. As with the Arduino IDE, it's free, and there's a link in the description. Now, here's what the download process looks like for the Elegoo materials. The link in the description takes you to this page, and here, where it says click to download, I recommend clicking. You know, to download, so it'll download. Haha, but that's not what happens, at least not yet. As it turns out, the file is hosted on Google Drive, which helpfully lets you drill down through the contents of a zip file, which is exactly what we don't want to do. So instead of browsing the contents of the zip file, we want the zip file to be downloaded to the computer. So click this little icon up here to download it. Google Drive will complain that the file's too large to check for viruses, but I'm going to download it anyway. Once it's downloaded, unzip it, and then we can get to the code. You can locate it starting from the Elegoo Super Starter Kit folder. Inside, open the folder for your language, which for me is English, then look inside Part 2 Module Learning for 2.12 IR Receiver Module. Inside that folder there are several folders, but the one we're after is simply named IR. So look inside and you'll see two files, ir.ino and ir.h. The ir.ino file is the sketch with the code that we're going to use, and the ir.h file is a header file. Double-click the ir.ino file and it'll open up in the Arduino IDE. Remember when I was describing how an infrared remote works and every button press sends a series of pulses representing that specific button? Well, right here on line 4, this include irremote.h directive tells the IDE that we want to use the irremote code library to handle the task of turning those series of pulses into meaningful data. Now, installing that library is easy, so let's get that done. Click the Tools menu, then select Manage Libraries. In the Library Manager window, search for IR Remote with no spaces. The one we need to install is IR Remote by Shirif and Z3T0, so click the Install button on that one. Once it's installed, close the Library Manager window. Okay, great. With the IR Remote library installed, the next line is the include ir.h directive, and that tells the IDE that we want to use the code in the ir.h file. Remember there were two files in the IR folder, ir.ino and ir.h? Well, that's the ir.h file that we're referring to. We're looking at ir.ino right now, but the contents of ir.h are kind of interesting, and I want to show you that. The Arduino IDE helpfully added a tab with that file here, so I'll click that tab to show the contents of the file. The stuff in here is a way to name things in a programmer-friendly way without taking up space in the main sketch. This huge list of define key underscore whatever the button is lines contains all the remote's buttons along with the unique identifying code associated with each one. So there are definitions for the power button and its code, the volume buttons and their codes, the playback control buttons, the number buttons, etc. Every button on the remote is defined here and named so that we, as programmers, can have our code perform actions in response to button presses. If you scroll down past these definitions, there are two arrays being set up. Now, an array is just a list. So we have a list named keyValue and another list named keyBuff. The keyValue array is a list of all the button definitions above, and the keyBuff array is a list of human-friendly names for those buttons. Okay, let's get back to the main sketch so I can go over the code with you. There are going to be parts that I won't go into huge amounts of detail on, but hopefully you'll get the gist of what's going on in there. Click the IR tab to switch. Here, the code is creating an IR receiver object and a decoder to translate the resulting button presses from the remote. Then we're into the setup function and we're setting up serial communication so that the code can write data back to the serial monitor window in the IDE. That lets the code communicate with us humans to tell us which button on the remote has been pressed, for example. and right after that, the code is printing the text string IR receiver button decode. And we'll see that show up in the serial monitor window when our code starts running. And finally, the code is telling the IR receiver object to enable receiving IR data. Then we're into the loop function, which runs forever, or until we reset the Uno, or unplug it, or upload something else to it. In here, each time through the loop, an integer variable named temp value is created. Then, if the IR receiver has received a button press, a for loop compares the received result with each item in the key value array one at a time, looking for a match. Remember that array? It was set up in the ir.h file. If it finds a match in the key value array, it prints that button's name to the serial monitor window. I think the rest of this if-else construct was intended to handle button repeats, like when you hold down a volume up or a volume down button, it would repeatedly print that button's name to the serial monitor. But honestly, the code they have in here doesn't do anything because it doesn't appear to be complete. Now, also, I've run it and I can confirm that holding down a button on the remote doesn't do anything special. So then, after all that stuff, the code resumes receiving values from the remote and the loop starts over. So let's upload this to the Uno and you can see how it works. We'll go through the usual steps. We'll plug the Uno into the computer with a USB cable. Then make sure the correct board type is set. Click Tools, Board, Arduino AVR boards, and Arduino Uno. Make sure the correct port is selected. Click Tools, Port, and then click the port tagged as Arduino Uno. Now I'm on a Mac here, but the Arduino IDE tags the port in Windows too. Click the Upload button. That's the one with the right pointing arrow up here. And the Arduino IDE will compile the code, and if there were no errors, it will send it over to the Uno. If there are errors, you'll be notified. The most common errors are either spelling errors or forgetting semicolons at the ends of lines. But this code should work without issue because we haven't changed anything. All we did was open it up from the Elegoo download. So after successfully sending the code to the Uno, you'll want to see what's going on. Click this button at the top right corner of the IDE window to open the serial monitor. It should, well, hopefully at least, say IR receiver button decode, which is the text that gets sent in the setup function. Now point the remote at the IR sensor and press a button. An LED on the sensor blinks to indicate that it's receiving data, and the button's label gets printed to the serial monitor. And while that's neat and all, it's also a little boring, right? Well, why don't we make it actually do something on the Uno, something we can actually see? The Uno has a built-in LED. Well, actually it's got a lot of built-in LEDs, but there's one in particular that we can control if we want to, and it doesn't require us to add wires or a resistor or anything. So let's modify the code so that when we press the power button on the remote, the LED turns on or off. So here's how we can do that. Up here at the beginning of the sketch, right after the decode results line, let's add a new line of code. We'll type bool LED state semicolon. Now this is a Boolean variable. Booleans store true or false values. So we'll use this variable to keep track of whether the LED should be on or off. Now down in setup, let's add a couple more lines. After the line with IR receive, we'll add this. LED state equals false semicolon. This sets the state tracking variable to false. Then we'll actually set up the LED. We'll type pin mode, open parenthesis, LED underscore built-in, comma, output, close parenthesis, and semicolon. Then we'll press return. I like how this LED is so special, the IDE actually has a name for it. That's kind of cool. Okay, to finish the LED setup, we'll type digital write, open parenthesis, LED built-in, comma, LED state, close parenthesis, semicolon, and this sets the LED to match the LED state variable, which at this point turns the LED off because the LED state variable is false. So that's it for the setup function. Down in the loop function, we need to add some code to actually do something when the power button is the one being pressed. So right under the temp value equals results.value line, let's add this. If open parenthesis key value sub I equals key underscore power, close parenthesis, open curly brace, and press return, the IDE will automatically add the closing curly brace. LED state equals exclamation point, LED state semicolon, and press return. and then digital write, open parenthesis, LED built-in, comma, LED state, close parenthesis, semicolon. And that should do it. So what this does is, if the power button is pressed, it sets the LED state to the opposite value. If it was true, it gets set to false. And if it was false, it gets set to true. Then it writes whatever that value is, either true or false, to the LED pin, and the LED will turn on if the value is true and turn off if the value is false. If you're wondering where that key_power comes from, that's over here in the IR.H tab. Okay, so let's upload that to the Uno and see what happens. If you have any errors, fix them. And again, it's usually either spelling, capitalization, or forgetting semicolons at the ends of lines. Haha, it works! Awesome! Okay, now maybe it's still kind of boring, but at least you can see a slightly more practical use for this. So you can use if-then statements just like I did, and test for whichever button you want to do something with, and then do whatever that something is. Armed with this knowledge, think of what you could do. We've done projects with buzzers and LEDs and servos, so you could get creative and use the up and down buttons to have a servo raise or lower a flag. Or maybe add a buzzer and code it so that when a certain button is pressed, the Uno beeps. You could set it to beep a certain number of times based on which number button you pressed. You know, you press 3 and it beeps 3 times. You press 6 and people start asking, what the heck is that annoying beeping? You press 9 and then when people get upset and confront you about it, you do it again while saying the beepings will continue until morale improves. Let your imagination run wild. Just try not to get hurt. I take no responsibility for beeper-related injuries. And I hope this episode has inspired you to try some fun things with this project. And if you do make something cool with it, let me know. Either leave a comment here or tweet a picture or video of it and tag me in the tweet. Well, okay, 3D printing and electronics friends, that's about all the time we have for this episode. And now that we're at the end, let's go code something cool. Hey, real quick before you go, I wanted to say thanks for being one of the super awesome people who sticks around all the way to the end, and thanks for all the likes, comments, and shares. And an especially big thanks to those who directly support what I do. You are all wonderful for doing that, and I really appreciate it. If you liked this episode, a thumbs up would be great. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check the description for ways that you can do exactly that. Oh, and I've got some other videos here that you might want to take a look at too. And if nothing else, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. It's absolutely free and it's an excellent way to help keep me making these videos for you. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time here on the BB3D channel.